What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. And as a wise man once said, once you see light at the end of the tunnel, there's always an oncoming train. And definitely a big oncoming train today, as we're all gearing up for the return of Mohamed Kudus this weekend. We were saying yesterday, you know, he's only been doing individual training away from the team. We were thinking, is he going to be back this weekend? Maybe the Brighton game. It's all gone to shit, people. It has all gone to shit. The news was first broken by ITK on X, SZY Priv, saying that Mohamed Kudus is unlikely to play again this season. A scan has revealed the injury is worse than first thought, and he is now likely to undergo surgery. Jake Sanders and Tom Barkley both saying that they understand that Tottenham forward Mohamed Kudus has suffered a fresh injury blow, with fears he could require surgery, putting his World Cup hopes in serious doubt. Alistair Gold has confirmed the story as well, saying he's had a recurrence in his quad injury that has kept him out for the past 3 months. It's just absolutely devastating news. And De Zerbi hasn't even got his first game yet, and he's already got his first injury setback. And it's just like one thing after another in terms of injuries with Tottenham Hotspur. You just can't write this stuff. This guy, Mohamed Kudus, before he joined Spurs, hadn't been injured for 2.5 years. And now he is currently on his longest ever injury in his career. Like, you just can't write this stuff. Like, how is this even happening? Like, this medical team need to have a serious look at, like, how are they still doing this? Every single time.
How many players now have had 6 month plus injuries in the last couple years? About 5 or 6 players. It's utterly ridiculous the amount of serious long-term injuries this club is getting. Obviously, this one right now in the situation that we're in is an absolute disaster. It puts probably the club in crisis mode. Cast your mind back a week ago.
Why are we already in crisis mode?
Obviously, we're in crisis mode already, but cast your mind back a week ago. De Zerbi gets appointed. All of a sudden, there's a little bit of hope coming into the camp. He gets appointed. The energy, there's a bit of a lift in the mood around Tottenham. You've got the thought of, you know, next game, potentially Bentancur, Kudus coming back from injury as well. All of a sudden, the team doesn't look so decimated. All of a sudden, you think, okay, 7 games to go. Can De Zerbi instill something in this team? Could we get out of this situation that we're in? Does he have the players come back from injury to do it as well? And to have this a few days before his first game, playing Kudus, who we all kind of pinned our hopes on him coming back and providing that little bit of quality in the attack, which we just haven't had for so long, ever since Mohamed Kudus has been injured in January as well. This news must hit like a ton of bricks, to be honest, to the face. It's absolute disaster. We were so reliant on Mohamed Kudus for so long, for the majority of the season, in the first half of the season, when we were really struggling kind of for any of the forward players making an impact on the pitch. Mohamed Kudus is the only one kind of stepping up for the team, kind of standing up to be counted a bit, taking responsibility in attack. And obviously it was a massive blow when we lost him in January. We all thought we were going to replace him. That never happened, which turned out to be a major misstep and brainless thinking from the hierarchy or whoever the decision makers were to not sign a right winger in January. And now we're in a situation where we thought he was going to be back for this run-in, so we thought, okay, he's going to be back for this, so it's not going to be too bad. As long as we can get him back, maybe we can get a little bit of quality in that front line to get us out of the situation. So the fact that he's now going to be missing for the rest of the season, it's like we're not going to get any. There's no one dropping down from a parachute to save us here. There's like nothing coming. Obviously, we got De Zerbi, which is fantastic, but he needs some sort of tools to play with, doesn't he? And we thought Kudus was going to be perfect for him because of how he, plays his wingers, how we've seen Matoma play and other wingers play for him, his previous sides. You thought, okay, Kudus is going to be absolutely perfect for that. So the fact that he's missing now for these last 7 games, looks like for sure, is absolute disaster. And I don't know what we do. Obviously, we've been dealing with this for the last 3 months, but the reality is we haven't been dealing with it well. We haven't won a game. So it's all right to say, like, this is nothing new because this has been the situation for the last 3 months. But the reality is we thought we were getting him back now, and we haven't won a game since Kudus has been injured, have we? So the fact that we're now going to have to play out the rest of the season and somehow find a solution here, I mean, I don't know what solution we find. I'm obviously if anyone could find a solution, you do kind of back De Zerbi to do it, rather than Frank or Igor, because they just weren't able to do it. Obviously, they resorted to playing the likes of Gallagher out wide or whoever else, Spence even. They've been playing on the wing. I wonder what De Zerbi does. But this news is an absolute disaster. And it just, every time, as you said at the beginning, every time you think there's a little bit of hope, there's a little bit of a lift in the mood, there's always something just around the corner to bring it down. And it's almost like the football gods have really punished us for that decision to sell Brendan Johnson on the first day of January.
It was an absolutely horrific decision to sell Brendan Johnson without bringing anyone in. And I was hearing from, Spurs fans saying, oh, it's good, get the money in now. He's a player that wasn't good for us, and, he's not exactly what we need. And Thomas Frank didn't favour him, and he wasn't getting too many minutes anyway. But regardless of all that is absolute rubbish, because he's a man that can help us in a situation. Yeah, he might not be good enough, but he's better than absolutely no one. And that's what we've got right now. We've got no right winger in the squad right now. Odegaard did his ACL. He's going to be out till well into next season. Kudus now, we're not going to see him for the rest of the season. So Brendan Johnson would have been very, very valuable to us.
Decky ain't coming back anytime soon.
And in the last 3 months, Brendan Johnson would have seen a hell of a lot of minutes. So that decision to sell Brendan Johnson and not replace him is just unfathomable, man, how they can do something like that.
And we said it at the time, it's not like this is hindsight talking.
Yeah.
We said it at the time. If, even before the deal was confirmed, we said, if this is an opportunistic sale just because there's money on the table and we haven't got anyone lined up, this is a disaster. This is an absolute disaster. You only sell him in the situation that we're in if there's a deal in place for someone else to replace him. You don't go putting us in the situation that we're in January, and the form was getting worse and worse, and we were getting closer and closer to the relegation zone. You don't put that whole situation, you don't add more jeopardy in it on a whim just because there's a bit of money there to be had. I understand, and it's very, very true, that Tottenham have been very bad at selling players. So when an opportunity to sell a player that we didn't really want here, and Brendan Johnson came about, I understand the temptation to take the money because we need to get better at getting players off the books that we don't really want. But this situation is a very specific situation. We have been in the last 2 years, but hopefully not every year we're going to be in this situation. We are right now, where with 13 players injured, where the form is hurtling towards relegation, and we're very, very short on numbers, and we have no other wingers in the squad. So in that situation, to basically add more fuel to the fire, make the situation even worse without a plan in place to rectify it, was utter madness. Actually, it was madness.
But it's not selling Brendan Johnson that was the biggest issue here. The biggest issue is he was ending the window with no one else to replace him. Mm-hmm. There were players there available. Oscar Bob was available. He ended up going to Fulham. Ryan was available. He ended up going to Bournemouth. Someone in the comments just mentioned Akalouche as well. He was heavily linked with Spurs at the time.
Didn't want to pay the money.
Didn't want to pay the money. So, there were players available for us. It's not like we're in this January, such a hard month through, there was no one available. There were players available. So, selling Brendan Johnson, yeah, fine, sell him. But you've got to replace him. If you don't replace him, then you can't sell him. Especially in the situation that we're in, and Kudus gets injured literally the day after we sell Brendan Johnson.
Which makes it even worse that we didn't sign anyone, because they knew Kudus was injured, and they knew he was injured for at least 3 months.
Yeah.
And now it turns out to be even worse than that. Worse. How many times, by the way, have we heard the term worse than first feared? Surely we hear that term more than any other fan base in the Premier League.
Seems like every injury at this point.
Every injury is bloody worse than first feared. What is it with these doctors and this medical staff with the original diagnosis? They can't give a realistic timeline for these injuries. It always seems as though they're getting it wrong every time. Every single time they've put a timeline, they get it wrong. I understand. I'm not a professional physician or whatever, so I understand it must be difficult to diagnose players with extreme accuracy in terms of how long they're going to be out for with an injury, and I'm sure there are a lot of different kind of things that go into making a diagnosis like that. But I understand if maybe one or two, you can kind of forgive a medical staff when it's like 1 or 2 incidences where, even over like a 3 or 4 year period where they're getting it wrong and it's a lot longer than they think. But it seems to be a consistent pattern here. a consistent pattern that every injury that we come about, whether that seems to be 1 or 2 months or whatever, and then once 1 or 2 months comes about, it's a lot longer than we thought. And it's, there's a lot. How many players as well where it seems to be like something where it's a constant like delaying of recovering from an injury, and like every week they're like saying, yeah, he's close, and then all of a sudden we're like 6 months later, and it's like all of a sudden they actually didn't know at the original time how bad it was. Like Solanke, every time it was like, yeah, another week, and all of a sudden we're sitting here 6 months later, he hadn't returned yet.
It goes all the way back to Lamella. Lamella was like that as well.
I know, but it's hard to put that on the current medical staff because I think a lot of it's changed.
Well, it's just like, it just feels like we're cursed at this point. This football club is cursed. Like, it's not just with this current medical team. We've seen it with injuries in the past as well. Like, it's just happened so many times.
We were sitting in the block next to a lot of the senior kind of board members in the Forest game, and we saw Jeff Scott there, the former head of medical at Tottenham. I do wonder, was he there because he's coming? Is he going to be returning soon? Who knows if conversations are going to be had there? Because there needs to be. We know that.
Well, he was there when Igor Tudor was the manager at that point.
You're a good point. But
who knows?
But it seems as though as well, every 6 months we're hearing about a massive shake-up of the medical team. That can't be good as well. Constantly shaking up the medical team, and all of a sudden every medical team has different ways of operating. And what does that cause? That cause problems, and all of a sudden they need time to bed in their way or whatever. But then again, if a medical team is failing, you have to change it if it keeps causing the problems that we're having. But we're in this current cycle with that as well. It seems that every year or every 6 months we're hearing about a shake-up in the medical team. And I think changing it every 6 months is probably not a good thing as well. So I don't know what the problem is. I think we're the only probably fan base who constantly bang on about our own medical team and talking about sack the medical team. I mean, it's a bit ridiculous. I don't like talking about it because I don't know much about it, so I don't want to act like I'm an expert about medical physicians and how they operate. So I don't want to sit here and say they should go, they should be sacked, they're not doing their job properly, because I've got no idea what circumstances they're under. But at the end of the day, what we do know is there is a consistent pattern at the club of definitely saying injuries are worse than first feared and massive injury crisis. There is a constant pattern here, and how do we rectify that? I don't know. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Look, I think what you said before about De Zerbi being able to manoeuvre this situation, I do have more faith in him as opposed to a Thomas Frank, as opposed to an Igor Tudor. He plays the way that we want to see, and hopefully he can find a solution. But in terms of looking to what that solution is, it's hard to see what it is, because look, now we know Kudus is probably out for the season. Decky we're probably not going to see this season. Odebear we're definitely not going to see this season. Brennan Johnson obviously was sold in January, so that's 4 right wingers that we had at the start of the season that we don't have right now. We should never be in a situation like this where an injury and you just don't have anyone in that position. It's just nuts.
Farcical.
It's just nuts. So when you're looking at the options of who can actually play there come this weekend and for the foreseeable, you've got Muani, who's played there a couple of times this season. In terms of senior players, he seems like the only kind of guy.
Yeah, unless you want to shunt Tell out there and maybe put Muani on the left, or I mean, who else do we have to play on the left? I mean, you could put Javi on the left and maybe Bergvall or Gallagher up further forward in the centre. If you wanted to play Tell on the right, but Tell hasn't played on the right really all season. He did a few shifts there last season, but this season I don't remember too many times he's played on the right.
Under Igor, we played Porro there a couple of times. Unless you want to go down to the youth, go to like a Tynan Thompson.
Williams Barnett,
someone like that. So
Spence, could Spence be a makeshift right winger further forward? Obviously we've played Gallagher there, haven't we? But that's been an absolute disaster. I don't think De Zerbi's going to want Gallagher there. I think he would rather play someone like Spence, because I think maybe if we go with the back, maybe he just goes with wing backs and just forgets the whole winger situation altogether. Maybe he does that.
I think he could very well do that. 3-5-2.
And I remember he played when Lamptey was there. He played him as a wing back quite a lot, and he was quite good under De Zerbi for a short period before he got injured. So maybe does he see Spence as like a Lamptey kind of player? But then where does that leave Porro? Maybe he's another right centre back potentially, which we gave tutorship for doing. But maybe Look, I think maybe under Zerbi it could be a bit different, because if he plays right centre back and he inverts into midfield, like I think Zerbi's going to want it, maybe it could work. Yeah, I mean, does he play Porro there? Yeah, obviously, as you say, Tudor played Porro there. Does he think maybe play Spence right back and Porro? I reckon Zerbi might prefer Porro a bit deeper and Spence using his pace to go a bit further forward with pace. I think that's how he'd prefer it. That's kind of my inkling, like play Porro a bit like how he did Pascal Gross in that kind of way of playing, and then Spence a bit further forward using his pace into the space. But in terms of attacking options, I think if he is going to go 4-2-3-1, he probably ends up going Moani there, because I think he has played like Welbeck or out wide on occasion, and that's not been a terrible option. And we know Moani can kind of do a job out there. I mean, I haven't been that impressed with him, but maybe under De Zerbi, with a few more options with him, he could, he won't be so kind of anonymous like he has been potentially out wide. I think that's probably the solution he'll go with.
I think he is going to go 3-5-2 and just change up the formation. Like, I think he'll know the wing options are. I mean, Teller's our only natural winger in the squad. We've only got one winger for 2 spots, plus you need to rotate as well during the course of 7 games. So I think he'll go without wingers. I really believe that. I think he's going to go where we've got our most fit players, and that's wing back, central midfield.
Well, you could even go 3-4-3, and I think Moani's probably a bit more suited to playing
potentially
in a front 3 rather than a 4-2-3-1.
But I think if you look at the 3-5-2, we got enough midfielders, we got enough wing backs, we got enough strikers.
It's true.
So just on that basis alone, in the striker situation, you've got Tell, who can play up front. You've got Solanke, you've got Richarlison, you've got Moani, you've got 4 strikers there potentially. So I think just ditch the wingers until we get some fit. So basically till the end of the season.
Yeah. So do you think this Kudus injury could force him into playing a 3 at the back now? Yeah,
I really think it would.
Yeah, and we know that when he was at Brighton, that's how he did start his first 4 games or 5 games. He did start playing 3 at the back. And then we know he didn't win them, and then he changed it to a 4 at the back and ended up turning the form around. And so I do wonder whether he looks at this squad and goes 3 at the back. I think that probably is the most logical solution. What we do know about De Zerbi is he is a manager who will definitely think outside the box. He's not afraid to put players in unfamiliar positions if he believes that they could do a very good job in those positions. As we've said, we've seen Pascal Gross and Caicedo at fullback, and everyone would say that isn't their strongest position, and that's not the position they should be playing in. Yet he's not afraid to put them there. He's not. I've seen him play a 3-4-3 with Solly March and Trossard as wing backs. So I've seen him go really aggressive with 2 wingers on either side. I've seen him play a pivot of Pascal Gross and Billy Gilmore. When you look at that situation, you think there's no physicality there. How are they going to cope? Yet they win games like that. So he is not afraid to step outside the box or the comfort zone of some players. If he sees something in a player, he believes he can do a certain job somewhere else, he's not afraid to do that. So I do wonder who that would be in the squad, but I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if there are some surprises. Expect the unexpected, put it that way, with some of his selection, I think.
Is there a solution of potentially in a couple of weeks' time, if Maddison is back fit, to shove Maddison out there?
On the wing? I think he'd more likely...
Because he's played on the wing before.
I think he'd more likely play Xavi there and put Maddison inside.
Because Maddison has played on the wing before.
Not on the right. He's played on the left before. I've never really been that impressed with him. I think Xavi would probably be a better fit for the wing than Maddison, in my opinion. I think he's more of a... Well, I guess Maddison's pretty good at dribbling, but I don't think Maddison's good at dribbling into space. I think same with Xavi, to be honest, but I think Xavi's been maybe a bit better than Maddison. I think Maddison, again, he's much better in those tight spaces, manoeuvring there than he is when he's got loads of space to run into, because he's never really going to beat anyone for pace out on the wing. Whereas Xavi, I mean, he's not really either, but I think he's got a better shot than Maddison, especially when recovering from this injury. So I don't think Maddison would go on the wing. But then again, just similar to when Eriksen was at Spurs and he kind of played on occasion under Poch, on that half right-hand space role, when we had Dele Son at the centre and left, and Eriksen would be off the right, but he would never be a winger, would he? He'd kind of be playing... I think Gross did that role.
Centre-right.
Yeah, centre-right. Gross did that role a bit for Brighton. So I definitely could see Maddison doing that role.
Yeah, in like a 3-4-3 kind of, with the two inside 10s of being Javi and Maddison.
Yeah.
I could see that working for sure.
I could see that working, yeah. But we don't know when Maddison's back exactly.
Yeah. But I'm not saying it's an immediate solution, but it could be a solution at some point from now to the end of the season.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely, maybe the back three. You got... I mean, could Spence... I think Spence could only really do it wing back. I wouldn't want him in a 4-2-3-1. But then again, I mean, maybe he could. Maybe if you just get Spence to run into space, he's very quick, he's strong. You just
Can beat
don't
overcomplicate
it for him. Just get him running on. Just get him running onto things. Get him running in behind. Train him in a certain way, and get him just whipping balls across the face of goal. Don't make it overcomplicated. Don't give him the ball to feet too much and ask him to take too many people on. Just try and simplify his game, and maybe it could work. You've seen it with some players. They're just quick, and all you ask them to do is run in a straight line, and because they're that quick, it can be a problem.
I wonder if we could do like an emergency callback for Jan Min-hyuk or something. Like, he is literally not in any squad for Coventry.
Yeah.
It's like, why not? Surely there's a deal that could be done there.
If it's possible. I mean,
like, we all know he's probably not good enough, but he's better than nobody. Like, he's not getting a minute in the Championship, so who's to say he can come to the Premier League and make an impact? But at least he's an option.
I'm not against it.
Like, they clearly don't want him. Mm-hmm. So why can't there be a deal to be done there?
I'm not against it. It's up to the club if they think it's the right thing. But you can't really say it's hampering his development.
That's what I'm saying. It's hampering his development, him staying there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm in favour of it. I don't think he'll get much game time here, but I'm in favour of it.
I'll just give him for someone just as an option. You know, even if he just doesn't start, as an option off the bench, against tired legs in the last 10 minutes, he could actually have an impact.
I do wonder if we will turn to one of the youngsters. Will they get an opportunity? Obviously, we've seen...
The only one, really, that's a winger that could have... that's an out-and-out winger that can have an impact, I think, is Tynan Thompson. He's the only one. And he is more of a left winger, but he's just come off the back of an injury as well. He's had his first appearance, 5 days ago, against West Ham under-21s, played an hour. So he's off the back of an injury. So maybe he's one that can come in. It's just him and Williams Barnett.
Yeah.
That's the only ones. So, look, this is just not the news we needed right now. Literally 3 days before De Zerbi's first game.
Welcome to Tottenham, De Zerbi.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's a welcome to Tottenham. You got to expect a lot more of this. But it's just really frustrating. I do trust that De Zerbi can potentially find some solutions or better solutions than what Igor Tudor did and what Frank did. However, don't get away from the fact that it's a massive blow for us. It is a massive blow. So we've got to wait and see. Wait and see what De Zerbi says in the press conference and wait and see how it all plays out on Sunday. Yep.
Disaster. There's always a disaster just around the corner when it comes to Tottenham Hotspur. And here we are again. Yep. Let's go and see how the